Okay, in the first step, we got our track mounted. Okay, then we put our snap carriers on the curtain. What I've done is I've laid the curtains out on the floor here because we're going to rig the magnetic doorways, and it's a whole lot easier to do it on the floor than it is when the curtains are hanging. So these are my 3 panels. This is my large panel. I just got it bunched up here in the middle. But I got a skinny panel, I got my large panel, and then I have my stucco strip. And they're in order. And incidentally, if you have multiple panels, the panels are usually labeled sequentially, and there's a diagram that comes with your order that will have a panel diagram, and look on the back of the label and you'll see the panel number. So on this particular application, it's 9 feet tall. I don't have very much wind, so I'm going to use 5 magnets. So I want to equally space these things, so I'm going to put one near the top here, and I'm just using some of the kids' chalk. I'm going to put one at the bottom. I'm going to make it on the other panel. So to insert the magnets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use what we call the RAMROD method. So as I ramrod this down, I want kind of a rounded edge. So I'm going to sort of round this edge a little bit like an eraser head. Okay, so be careful when this opens because it's just going to want to fly all over the place and you don't want to get hurt. And this is a 10-foot rod. These are my rounded edges. You use a lighter, I'm just going to sear that. It keeps it from splintering. The magnets, if you look here, you'll see double stitching. The magnets go between the double stitching. And we're going to use the fiberglass rod to ramrod those magnets into position. This outer channel here eventually will hold the fiberglass rod itself. Okay, so let's see how this thing works here. You ever seam ripper? What I want to do is I want to go between the double stitching without crossing over the double stitching. So I'm going to make a little slit. I'm going to come out before the stitch. Definitely don't want to cross over it. It's a very sharp knife. We'll go right through it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my first magnet in, push it down to the chalk mark, and just keep doing that. Now for the first panel, it doesn't really matter how I put the magnets in. What matters is how I put the other side in, because they need to attract each other and not repel each other. So these magnets are very, very, very powerful. Don't let them slam together. This rare earth metal is very brittle. Once it gets into the binding, it becomes padded and we don't need to worry about it. But if you slam these together, they'll just crack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist off a magnet. I'm going to put it in the little pocket that I created with the seam ripper between the double stitching. That's going to go in. She's going to pull on the other end. Give me a nice straight line. Just going to ramrod this baby down. Remember, we're doing 5 total. Got it? Good. Easy to do. And we can put in as many magnets as we want, and it all depends upon our wind conditions. There's my pocket, goes in, fiberglass rod, ramrods that one into place. Okay, now when I'm finished putting my magnets in, I want to clean up my little cut mark. So what I do is I just put my hand here, get the lighter, just wave it real quick, tap, 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 it's all sealed. Okay, my chalk marks wipe away. So let's lay this back down on the ground again. So like I say, we don't really care what the polarity is of the first set of magnets. We definitely care what the polarity is on the second set of magnets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay a magnet on this. You'll see how strong they are. You just have to get them close and they'll find the other magnet. There it is. She's got those. And they are laid correctly, okay? Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take a Sharpie and I'm just going to mark the back of the magnet, just enough so I can see it. All I have to do when placing these magnets is that the Sharpie mark is on top and I put them down in the correct order, starting with the bottom magnet first and working my way up. So I'm going to go ahead and take my fiberglass rod, ramrod this thing down. First thing before I do anything, let me test and see my magnetic connection, that bottom magnetic connection. Make sure that that works correctly. Is that attracting or repelling? Perfect. Okay, so I'm testing it. So I'm going to put in the next one, Sharpie side up, because that's the way I'm doing this. I'm going to take my fiberglass rod, ramrod that baby down. If I do put it in backwards and it does, and I get down there and I find it does repel, I can massage it and get that thing to flip, right? Well, let's put it in right the first time. Okay, so let's lay this down and test to make sure our work was good. And all these babies are attracting. They're not repelling. They're all lined up. Great. Let's do the other side.